kickback is a posterior oblique sling strengthening exercise. So we're focusing on activating the lat to the opposite glute to help strengthen and stabilize across the SI joint or that posterior chain. With the straight leg kickback, we have a few variations. The first is you can do it with a mini band, and you can put it around the ankles. And then the leg that will be kicking will be opposite of the arm that I'm rowing with. So I'm going to hold my dumbbell, and we want to focus on finding as horizontal a position with my torso as I can. So I'm going to come as horizontal as I can. This is going to be my moving leg, and this is my moving arm. So as I exhale, I'm going to kick this leg back as I row the arm back at the same time. As I do this, it's important that I'm not arching in my back. So I'm thinking maintain my back position. I only want my glute to be the thing that's shortening. So no arching, otherwise we're probably going to feel some low back pain. Now, as I kick back, I'm not going to have a huge range of motion. So it's not going to kick all the way back here, just based on my mini band. But this is still tension within that glute. When I'm rowing, I want to focus on bringing the weight back to my torso, almost like squeezing my elbow into my side. And the weight is coming back at more of a diagonal as opposed to straight up towards my shoulder. So I'm thinking, pull the weight back towards my hip pocket, back towards my rib cage, and then squeeze my elbow into my side. I don't necessarily need to go beyond my torso, just to the torso is enough. So supporting myself with my free arm, coming into as horizontal of a position as I can. I'm going to think exhale to kick back as I row, maintaining my spine position, so not arching in my back, and then inhale to come back. Exhale to kick back as I row, inhale to release. If I wanted to use a different band setup, sometimes we can use a long resistance band, which allows us to have a little bit more range of motion with the leg, but just requires us to have a point of attachment for the band. So typically you want this to be around like ankle level with the door frame. So if you're using your door frame, it would probably go underneath the door. If you have like a power whack or a squat whack, anywhere around ankle level would be where I want to attach the band. So opposite leg that's moving to the opposite arm, still finding that horizontal position. And I'm going to exhale to kick back as I row. So you can see with the long band, I have a lot more range of motion with my leg because it just has more ability for it to lengthen. So exhale, kick back, maintain my spine position, not arching, row the way back at the same time. Now, ways that we can regress this movement. Let's say it's really uncomfortable to be really horizontal. We can add a banded row instead of using a dumbbell because it's going to allow me to maintain a more upright position and still have that direction of pull be appropriate. So I put that mini band back around my ankles. I'm going to hold the band with my opposite arm of my moving leg. So I'll put weight into this leg. If you need to have something next to you to hold on to for stabilization, that's fine. And I'm going to kick this leg back as I row the band back at the same time. So this is allowing me to be in a more vertical position if being super horizontal is just kind of uncomfortable, especially if you're pregnant and the belly is really big. Can really pull on that spine. So I'm going to exhale, kick the band back as I row back at the same time. Same principle. I'm thinking pull towards my rib cage, towards my hip pocket, elbow into my side. I don't have to go beyond it, and I'm not pulling towards my shoulder. So exhale, kick back, still focus on maintaining that neutral spine position, and then row at the same time. So it looks like this on the opposite side. So exhale, kick back as I row the band back at the same time. So that can be another variation if you want to be more upright with it. Another variation that we can do is we can either use a bench or the floor if we want to be in a more supported horizontal position. So I would come down to the bench. This knee is going to be supported and this arm is going to be supported. So I have opposite side. Depending on the width of your bench, this is also going to be a lot of core stabilization because I have to maintain my position on the bench in likely a narrower stance. This back leg is going to kick up. And then inhale to lower down, exhale, kick up, inhale to lower down. The bench is good because it adds more range of motion for my leg. If I was on the floor, I would only be able to go to this point, so it'd be a little bit smaller of a range of motion. Same thing, I want to think about maintaining my spine position so I'm not kicking back and arching in my back. I'm thinking kick back to activate in my glute. Then I could add my row, so I would exhale, kick back as I row the band back at the same time. To see it from the opposite side, so I'm holding onto the bench, balancing in this knee, and then exhale, kick back as I row. So same thing, pulling towards my hip pocket as opposed to towards my shoulder. Inhale, down, exhale, row back. So with the bench or an elevated surface, I'm gonna have more range of motion for both my arm and my leg. But if I wanted to do it from my floor position, coming down onto the floor, this leg is gonna kick back, exhale, row, inhale to come down. So less range of motion, so maybe slightly easier and maybe more achievable for you. So exhale, kick back, row, inhale to lower down. So with the straight leg kick back, we have a lot of different variations. The biggest thing that we want to focus on is the leg that's kicking back, the opposite arm is going to be rowing. So we can be more vertical and use a resistance band with a mini band around the legs. We could add more range of motion to the glute by using a long resistance band around the legs, or we can be more horizontal and hold a weight, either standing or in a more supported position.